Hi, this is Zibby Owens, and you're listening to Totally Booked with Zibby, formerly Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. In my daily show, I interview today's latest best-selling, buzziest, or underrated authors and story creators whose work I think is worth your time. As a bookstore owner, publisher, author, and obviously podcaster, I get a comprehensive look at everything that's coming out and spend my time curating the best books so you don't have to. Stay in the know, get insider insights, and connect with guests like I do every single day. For more information, go to zibbymedia.com and follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens. Kareem Rosser is the author of When You're Ready, A Love Story. Kareem is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He received a BA in economics from Colorado State University. While at CSU, he led his collegiate polo team to a national polo championship. At the same time, he was honored as the Intercollegiate Polo Player of the Year. Kareem returned to Work to Ride, where he was originally introduced to polo and now serves as the executive vice president. He lives with his family in Philadelphia. Welcome, Kareem. Thank you so much for coming on Totally Booked with Zibby. Your book, When You're Ready, A Love Story. Oh my gosh, this book, it just slayed me. It's so good. It's so emotional. It's so real. You've been through so much and you write so beautifully about it and so inspiring. I'm obsessed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'm really excited to join you today and to talk about the book. It's my first time talking about the book with anyone.
No way.
So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I have not had a chance to really speak with anyone about it, about the writing experience, the book, how I felt, how I feel now. So I'm excited to hear some of your questions, and hopefully you won't have me crying on your podcast, but we'll see if we can get through it.
I mean, I want to know why you decided to write the book. And I want to tell everybody basically the bones of your story, or I mean, essentially, your love of Lily is the through line of the book, and yet there is so much loss and so much resilience at every step that it just felt like, how could things, like, you just lost so many people you loved, and it just breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart. I hope you know how much this is a lot for any one person to have on their plate.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, it took me some time to, I guess, get to a part of my life where I felt comfortable writing about the book. I know my agent and I spent a lot of time going back and forth. Are you ready to write the book yet? And I'm like, I'm not ready yet. As you learned in the book, I spent a lot of time in therapy, getting to a place where I eventually got to a point where I kind of accepted who Lily is today and the loss of Lily, in a sense of losing the woman that I loved and who I thought eventually I would have a long life with. But I just realized there were so many other people going through what I was going through, just even walking into the rehab hospital and seeing some of the other families struggle with just the day-to-day loss, or trying to get their family members, their husband or their wife or their child back to health and to the strength to where they can just live a normal life. And I was battling so much quietly. Many of my folks weren't really aware of my anxiety that I was dealing with, a little bit of depression that I was dealing with during Lily's loss. I just woke up every day and I smiled, and I went on with my day, and I realized that Lily needed me there, and that was the only thing I was thinking about. But at the same time, there were so many other people within the family that were struggling. Evie, Lily's mom, we showed up every day and we hugged each other and we talked, but we never really even talked about our anxiety or depression or things that we were going through. We were just so present for Lily. And so it was about time that I decided to just step back, accept it, and then write about it and hopefully share it with people and hopefully make a difference. But really, I just wanted to write in a way that would let other folks know that they weren't alone.
Wow. Well, you did that. You wrote in such an accessible, heartfelt, beautiful way that it's impossible not to feel, not to clutch your chest reading it. And there are plenty of very positive moments. I don't mean to suggest this is a doomsday book. This is very, inspiring, really. Let's go back. So Lily and her riding accident, talk about that, how you found her. You kept hearing about her online through the riding world, growing up in the bottom, your family, your mom's abuse. Oh my gosh, there was just so much. Your friend Mecca, right? Mecca?
Yemeka, yes, yes.
Oh my gosh, even that was so sad. I mean, you could have written a book just about that. But anyway, there were so many things. But start talk a little, just give everybody an overview.
Yeah, so summer 2014, I came back to Philly because I was finishing up my second year at Colorado State University, where I was there playing polo and riding as well. And I realized in that summer that I didn't really have any plans on becoming a professional polo player. I was at some point going to use my degree in economics and also wanted to return back to Philadelphia. So I got an internship in Philly as a financial analyst. And that was the first time actually Lita and I met up because I guess prior to that, spent a lot of time online. I heard about her through family and friends. A lot of folks were just saying, you need to meet this wonderful girl, Lily. She's beautiful. She's an amazing writer. And I had to I had to go online and check her out and see what everyone was talking about. And it actually turned out to be true. She is this incredibly gorgeous woman who was also happened to be an amazing writer. So, we spent, I guess, several months trying to find time to meet up, but life happens. And the summer of 2014, I finally came back to Philadelphia and she was home riding. And so we connected in that summer. It was probably one of the best summers of my life because I met the love of my life at that time, that being Lily. And then I was also playing polo. And then at the same time, I was finally getting some real world job experience and, as a financial analyst, or at least as an intern for the summer. Because prior to that, I spent every summer riding horses, playing polo. And to me, that wasn't really a job. It was just, I was doing something that I loved. And so it was about time to do something new. So Lily and I connected that summer, and the first date was incredible. I just remember it was the first time I really fell in love with a woman, and also became obsessed with someone. I don't think I really ever talked about how obsessed I was with Lily. I just kind of played it cool, but she still is just this incredible human. I mean, yes, physically she was amazing, but just who she was as a person was incredible. So we spent that summer getting to knowing each other. She met my family. We rode together. It was the first time I really got a chance to ride with a girl that I fell in love with. And we had so many things in common despite, our backgrounds, despite the differences in our backgrounds. She grew up in the wealth of Pennsylvania on the countryside, and I grew up in inner city Philadelphia. We were just in many ways opposite, but obviously our love for horses, and also what I later learned is Lily's love for just giving back. She was just a special human, and the big thing that really, I guess, drew me to her is her comfort around my family and friends. We grew up, as I said, mentioned, in two different backgrounds, but because I saw how comfortable she was around my family, it just made me fall in love even more.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
okay, but
Yeah.
take your time.
Yeah. And so the summer went by, and then I eventually went back to school. I went to Colorado State. Or was finishing my time at Colorado State University there. And then we started our long distance relationship. And so, during that time, it was, as I talked about, there were so many challenges of being in a long distance relationship. For me, I talk about my infidelity, which was, honestly very embarrassing and hard to talk about, but it was part of our story. And I thought it was important to share as, many people deal with, long distance relationships and struggle with monogamy and those things. And so that was something that was a challenge for me. But we got through our time while I was at Colorado State University. And then eventually I graduated in 2016, which was an incredible year, being the first of my family to graduate college. And I moved back to Philly, excited to start a life with Lily. It was the first time that we were going to be together in the same place, not dealing with going back to school. She was just accepted to the University of Pennsylvania, where she started a master's program in social work. I started my first job in finance as an analyst. I was living in downtown Philly. Life was perfect. Life was great. There was everything that I dreamed of as a kid was finally coming to life. And I had my dream girl, I had my dream apartment. I was near my family. I finally had money in my bank account, or at least consistent income. So there were so many things that I was happy about. And, then I returned back to Philly and started to deal with the inevitable struggles around being home being close to the neighborhood that I grew up in, that was, or that is, and I guess you'd say, it's a very tough place to grow up and very easily to get pulled back in. And so, I was dealing with those struggles. So Lily and I broke up for a bit. And then eventually, I said, I'm done breaking up with you. We're going to be together forever, and we're all done. And then December of 22nd in 2016, it was one of the worst days of my life. I get a phone call from Lily's stepfather, Philip Dutton, who tells me that Lily's been in a horrible riding accident. And, at that time, all I knew was that Lily fell off a horse and she hit her head, and she was being medevaced to Christiana Hospital in Delaware. I had every thought running through my mind. Is she alive? Did I just lose the love of my life? What's happening? I had no information. And I showed up, and I was greeted by her parents, both her stepdad, her biological father, her mother and sisters. And the doctor walked in and said that Lily may not survive. And yeah, I just lost it. We all lost it. And I broke down. And, prior to Lily's accident, I suffered a lot of loss that you'll obviously learn about in the book. But this was a different type of loss. This was the first time, where I almost lost someone that I thought I was going to marry. Right. So in many ways, I felt like we were already married. And then that phone call, it changed my life forever. It changed her life forever. It changed her family's life forever. And, we were here. And, the one thing that I said to Lily when she was in the ICU was that if she decided to live, that I will always be by her side no matter what. And that's what I've been doing for the last 8 years, is sticking by her side as her now just very, very good friend.
Oh, I feel like you're more than just her very good friend. The two of you have a relationship that is so special and different, with a history that there are no adequate words that could sum it up. And I know from finishing the book and everything how you are in your life now. I kind of don't want to give it away because as I read it, I was like, it was such a joy to get to the end and see your whole journey. But and I know you've had such a hard time, and I'm not going to ever say moving on, because you're not going to move on ever. Lily's a part of you, and your love for her will never go away. But even just reducing the time for your visits was a challenge. And Dr. Berman, I guess, was such a huge help, and being like, it's okay. It's okay that you're going to have your life. And that's not any sort of betrayal. And it's not going back on your word. It's something that it's a gift you have to sort of play out. And hopefully, she would want that as well. And I know you've reclaimed that, but the journey to getting there and how you struggled through that and made sense of it and came to terms with it and wrote it all down so that the rest of us could read it. I mean, that is amazing. It's really amazing. When did you start writing about any of this? Like, when did you realize that would help, if it did?
Yeah. So honestly, during first when her accident first happened, and then even like a few years through our recovery, I didn't write about it at all. Really, I just I took a lot of photos. Between when she was in a rehab, when she came home, when she went back into the rehab, a lot of videos, a lot of photos. But I know her mother, Evie, she did a lot of writing in her journal. But for me, I was just moving so fast in life. There were so many other things going on too. And my way of being present is not necessarily just writing things down. It's physically being with that person. It's holding that person. It's going through the rough days, going through the great days, holding her up at therapy, holding her hand by her bedside, feeding her, going on walks. I just wanted to be present. I wanted to be there with her. And when I was alone, honestly, I was suffering. And I was just struggling with my mental health. And, I would sometimes isolate myself, or I would go and spend time with my friends. But I never sat down and did any writing. It wasn't really up until, I ended up going back to my agent, Emma, and, telling her I'm ready to actually start the writing process, where I spent time starting to, put my thoughts together, looking at photos, going back to, going back several years and reliving those experiences, because I knew that it would be painful, to relive them, to look at some of those photos, to bring back some of those memories that I didn't want to relive. But at the same time, I realized that it was very, very important to do it if to simply just help other people. And I did it in a way where I didn't want to hold anything back. I told myself that if I was going to write this book, I was going to be incredibly vulnerable. I was going to be incredibly honest. And I wasn't going to hold anything back because I didn't think it would do any justice to folks that I would hope to help heal at some point.
Wow. Wait, but how did you end up with an agent and a book deal before you wrote anything? You knew you wanted to write it at some point, or you went out with it? Or?
So I actually wrote, this is my second memoir. So my first one is called Crossing the Line. So I've been with my agent now for over, I guess, 7 years. So this is my second book. So Emma and I have already established a relationship, and then Emma, said, whenever you're ready to write the second one, let's get it done.
Got it. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry. I read every word of this book, but I didn't realize you had written another book. So I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You'll have to check it out. It's called
I'm going to check it out because now I'm kind of like obsessed with how you write and your whole story and your life and all of that. So I will definitely go back and read that as well. My gosh. You write really well and very openly about your panic attacks and your mother's panic attack, and that you have this beautiful conversation together about when you both realize that you've both had panic attacks but never really talked about it till later in your life, and how you cope with anxiety and how it wasn't the thing to go get therapy and all of that in your background and everything. Talk about learning and coping with the fact that you have this predisposition and how you manage it even today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think, in my first book, I set it up a little bit with my anxiety, and also I wrote about Mecca in my first book as well. But, when I learned about my anxiety, or I guess I didn't learn. Looking back on it, I can figure out when I started to have panic. When I started to have panic attacks and anxiety was back when I was 8 or 9-year-old boy, when I lost my friend Mecca Harris, when her father and her mother were all executed in their basement back in 2003. That was the first time when I realized that I wasn't safe as a kid, that kids can also die. And bullets weren't just meant for adults. And I also recall just that period of time in my life, there were a string of murders that occurred, and there were probably a handful of kids that died. And I was very aware of kids dying at a young age. And when I became aware of that, that's when I started to have anxiety, and I was having trouble breathing at night. I was afraid to sleep in the dark. I was afraid to leave my front porch because of the risk of getting shot. And at that time, I thought I just had respiratory issues, and that I maybe had asthma, because I know asthma is something that ran in my family. And so I spent time going to the doctors, and the doctor said, nothing's wrong with you. You're absolutely fine. Never came up that I may have any mental health issues or anything around anxiety. I didn't even know anything about anxiety until later in life. And then, as I eventually got older and went through, my different, I guess, levels of education in high school and college, I would have panic attacks, but still didn't really have a name for it. It was just, something that was going on in my life, and I would just get over it. But not really. It wasn't really until I met Ellen, my therapist, that I truly started to understand anxiety and inability to breathe, or to feel like the world is collapsing on you. And my mom at that time, my mom is probably I think going on 5 years sober, 5 or 6 years sober. And she spent a lot of her time dealing with her anxiety, depression by just using. So, she also didn't have the vocabulary to even explain how I may have felt at a particular time, because she didn't even know how she was feeling. She was just using to deal with her trauma. And I also didn't understand how trauma has informed my later years in life, and how it has, all the negative effects that it has on me today. There were so many things that I just didn't know, that I wasn't aware of. I didn't have the vocabulary. I didn't really know what depression meant. Again, you always, at least where I grew up, if you were sad, you were told to shut the F up and move on and keep on with your day, right? So I've been conditioned this certain way to live as this strong, masculine Black man who, shove all their problems under a mattress. But fortunately, when I graduated school, my boss, Joe Mannheim, introduced me to Ellen. And it was it was definitely much needed just because I wasn't able to function at work. I couldn't think clear, and it was obvious that I needed help. And when I met Ellen, it's just, I learned so much about myself, but simply just being able to take the vocabulary and apply it or understand it and understand, my feelings and my thoughts and, why am I having a difficult time breathing, how an incident from 12 years ago is affecting me today. All of these things that I just started to learn about myself and learn about anxiety. But the other piece was that I learned about myself, which I thought was really cool, is I use my anxiety to get me to where I am today, right? So there are pieces of anxiety that are actually good, right? Not all anxiety is bad. Anxiety informs us that we're human, we're alive. It helps us, protect ourselves in many ways. And then there's a piece of anxiety that it's too much, right? You're in that constant fight or flight mode, right? That becomes overwhelming mentally and overwhelming physically, right? So you start learning about these things. And now that my mom is sober, we spend so much time talking about our anxiety and our past. And, I'm now coaching my mom through her therapy sessions or the personal therapy sessions that we have with each other. The other day I was explaining to my mom, the dopamine chemical and how it naturally occurs and, why you feel good when you work out versus, the whole fight or flight thing. And I was explaining that to her and why that could become overwhelming and your brain is on overdrive. And so all these things that was never in our world or resources that we had access to. And now we do. So we spend time talking about it a lot. And so my anxiety has not gone away, but I use it all the time to motivate me, but it's now in a place where I can manage it.
Wow. I mean, that's like the therapy success story of all time, right? That is exactly why therapy exists, to give people the tools to manage their emotions, to communicate, to identify, to realize that they're not alone and all of that. And I guess, a fabulous book comes out of it. That's not the worst thing that could happen. So
Yeah.
Can you just give me the postscript to the whole book? Like, what is your life like now? Where are you still in finance? Like, tell me your story now.
Yeah, so I'm no longer in finance. I actually transitioned out of my analyst role. I'm now working full time at the charity that I grew up in, Work to Right, as the executive vice president. I've been leading many of the development efforts there. We're just wrapping up a $15 million campaign that I led and raised money for to help build a new indoor riding polo facility at our site in Philadelphia in West Fremont Park. I'm helping institutionalize the organization and building out a succession plan for our charity. I still go and visit Lily very often. I see her about twice a month now. As you would learn in the book, I was there almost every day. I went and saw her the other day, so still very, very close with her. She is doing very well, in her recovery. We would have loved to see more out of her recovery, but she is who she is today, and we love her the same. And as I said before, I, have continued to stick by her side, and I will continue to stick by her side. One of the other exciting things is I joined the board of the Rehab Hospital, the Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital Foundation, where Lily spent majority of her time recovering. We're actually in the process of finalizing and setting up a patient's assistance fund in Lily's name. So that fund, the endowment fund, will go and support other TBI families and patients who unfortunately will suffer TBIs. One of my goals as a member of the board was to figure out how to give folks access to a place like Bryn Mawr Rehab. It is a very, very, very special place. There's obviously has a special place in my heart and just the simple fact of how it has helped Lily. So I want to be able to make sure that we can give other folks access to that. So we have a goal of raising $50,000 to seed the endowment within the next few months. But my goal is to grow that endowment as much as we possibly can. I'm going to commit a percentage of my book proceeds to the endowment in perpetuity, so to help that grow and support folks there. I have a daughter now. I'm married. And so I'm very, very happy about that. And so I'm living my life, raising my daughter, and spending time with my family, who is essentially just an extension of Lily's family. So we blended our families, and I'm really, really excited about that, to just be able to share these moments that I thought I would have with Lily, just the two of us, but now get to blend my family and spend time with Lily in that way. And yeah, so now I'm now just wrapping up. I guess not wrapping up, but starting the tour of the new book and getting and releasing the new book, and hoping that it just lands in the hands of people who really need it most. And I learned that there's a lot of folks who would benefit from reading this book. It doesn't matter if you're, or if a family member had a, TBI or anything, but I think that it just touched on so many important points in life that eventually someone will go through. And so I'm really, really excited to get it out there. And I just want to encourage people to pick up the book, not because I just want to have book sales, but I truly, genuinely just want the book to help whoever I think may need it.
When they're ready, they will read it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And just quickly, like, what was the experience like for you to write through your life and relive it? And was it cathartic? Did you cry writing it? Did you feel a sense of closure having written about it? Like, what was this experience like for you?
Yeah, it was. I mean, honestly, cliche. It was an emotional roller coaster. Really, it was definitely cathartic. There were moments where I was just incredibly sad. There were parts of the book where I had to just stop reading for a second and writing and thinking about it, just because it was just a tough moment. I actually recently did the audio for the book, and I didn't do the audio for my first book, and I, I I imagine that it would be a difficult process for on many levels, but it was very, very emotional. I think I probably, I don't know, stopped 1,000 times because I couldn't stop crying as I was reading the book. But just going through the writing process, yeah, it was an emotional roller coaster. At the end of it, I was very proud of the work and what was done, and happy. And now I just hope that people pick up the book and read it and understand that life doesn't always go as planned, and that's okay, right? You can get back up, you can find a new path, you can find new love. There's a line in the book I talk about how love is not static, right? It transforms. And that's one of the things that I want people to understand. Sometimes loss just brings new opportunity. And one of the things that I always talk about is I can always find good in bad situations. Like, I always look for the good in bad situations. I'm more of a the glass is half full type of guy. And so I found all the good things in Lily's situation, or my situation with Lily and the accident. I think it just, yeah, there were so many, I guess, things I can pick at and talk about that I thought were good. And that sounds weird about, how do you find good in a horrible situation with someone who has a traumatic brain injury? But there were so many good things that came, just the new people that I met at the hospital, and the other, friends and family leaders that I've never met before, the new relationships that I built over time. So there were so many great things that have come from the book. But I guess the one way of answering the writing process, again, it was an emotional roller coaster, but I'm very, very happy that I did it. And I just really hope that it benefits more folks than just myself.
It absolutely will. The book is so good. I am sure it will find its audience, a very wide audience. It's so compelling and emotional and inspiring. I really loved it. Great job on the
Thank
book.
you.
And also sorry about David. I mean, all of your losses. Kareem, if we were here, I would give you a huge hug. Not that you need it from me. I'm
No,
sure
I
you've
would love
gotten
it. No,
plenty of
yes,
hugs, but
no.
you can't not want to give you a hug after reading this book. So congratulations. Thank you for writing it. And I am just so rooting for you in life and for you to have all the happiness you deserve. You're such a good guy and such a giver. And it's just really beautiful to see. So thank you.
Thank you, Zibby. I appreciate it. And thanks for picking up the book and reading it and helping me share it with the world. Again, it's an exciting time, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's to come.
Amazing. All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you, Zibby. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
all right.
Kareem.
Good luck. Yes.
Thank
good luck
you.
with everything. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Totally Booked with Zibby, formerly Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. If you loved the show, tell a friend, leave a review, follow me on Instagram @ZibbyOwens, and spread the word. Thanks so much. Oh, and buy the books.